Do you have too many garden veggies coming in right now and you don't know what to do with them? I'm going to show you my 3 favorite ways to preserve garden veggies for later use. Hey, my name is Sarah Hefner and welcome to H is for Homestead. So we actually have a garden right now, but it is very slow producing. So we have lovely friends who are sharing their garden veggies with us. So whether you have your own garden or you have friends that are sharing, or you have a farmer that you know, or a farmer's market you can get stuff from, now's the time to get the veggies while they're cheap and in season and preserve them for later. So I'm going to start with probably my least favorite way of preserving, and we'll kind of go from there. So this is a ton of zucchini, as you can tell, and my favorite way to preserve zucchini really is just freezing it. But I don't love preserving food in the freezer too much, just because I feel like power outages and space and all of that can be a time issue and an issue for, future. I like things that are shelf stable or really, really simple to use. And it's not always the most simple to use zucchini when it's frozen. But I'm not going to show you how to do it because I feel like you very much probably know how to shred your own zucchini. You can use a hand shredder if you want to. We actually like to use our food processor. So I just cut off both of the ends, and we have chickens, so they love to just eat up any little scraps we have. And then I slice it small enough so that it can fit down into my food processor. So we will just take this down through the food processor and then get bags of frozen zucchini like this. And, well, it's not frozen yet. Get bags of zucchini and freeze it like this. And be sure to label it. Another way that you can actually preserve in the freezer for zucchini that I actually prefer is to get a muffin pan and put about ½ a cup of shredded zucchini in each muffin tin and freeze it that way. And then you can easily pop it out with a butter knife and put those little pucks of frozen zucchini in a Ziploc bag. And so if your zucchini bread calls for 2 cups, then I have to pull out 4 little pucks of the zucchini. And it's a lot easier to handle than a large bag like this. I'm going to do some like that, but my freezer space is limited to find a spot for a muffin tin at the moment. So we're just doing it in bags, and then when I thaw it, I'll just make up whatever, a whole bunch of zucchini bread or zucchini fritters, or throw it in a soup, or whatever we're going to do with it. So that is a very simple way. Number 1, freeze your veggies to preserve them for later. Okay, so the next way that I like to preserve veggies, and it really depends on the veggie and the style of how you're going to preserve it, and that is totally up to you and your family and how you like to eat it. Yellow summer squash is delicious fried. We like it if it's chopped really small, thrown in chilies or soups. But other than that, it's not really our super favorite. So it's hard to preserve it when you don't love it, but just a couple of ways. So my favorite way actually is to can it. And what I will do is I will slice this up into the size thickness that I want to actually fry it in. And then we will raw pack it into these jars. And I'll show the process here in just a minute. We will raw pack it into these jars. And I have a bit of a brine. It's 16 cups of water, 1 cup of vinegar, and a tablespoon of salt. And I will pour that water over brine, sorry, not water. Pour the brine over this, and then you can water bath can this for only 10 minutes. It's a very simple way to ease yourself into canning, and I'm going to show you that whole entire process.
Okay, so our jars are clean. We've raw packed with our squash, poured our brine over, and now we're going to debubble. You can use a debubbling tool or just a wooden skewer if you can't find your debubbler. We're going to wipe the tops with a clean, warm cloth just to make sure there's nothing on top that will keep our jars from sealing. Then you're going to use your favorite canning lids. Mine are these superb canning lids. Pop them on your jars, screw on your rings just until they're finger tight, and then you are ready to begin canning. We're going to pop these into our water bath canner in just a second. I'm using a regular pot here to show you that you can literally use anything you have in your kitchen. Just need a rack on the bottom, or if you don't have a rack, you can actually even just use an old rag or something. The water in the pot matches the temperature of the water inside the jars. It's really important that they match. And then you have about 2 inches of headspace above the jars. Once your water comes up to a rolling boil, then you're going to set your timer for about 10 minutes. Make sure to leave the lid on your pot while it's boiling. So set the timer for 10 minutes and then come back and we will turn off the heat. After the 10-minute timer goes off, you're going to want to turn off your heat and remove the pot from the heat, taking the lid off and letting the jars sit there for at least 5 minutes. Then remove the jars very carefully onto a towel and leave them for about 24 hours to cool.
Okay, so the last way that I'm going to talk about, and this is like just barely scratching the surface, but these are kind of like cheater fermented dill pickles. There are ways to ferment things that do not require refrigeration at all. These kind of ferment on the counter for 2 to 3 days, and then we do put them in the fridge. So it's a little different than refrigerator pickles because you get the health benefits of fermenting them for several days. If you've never heard of fermenting or that intimidates you, don't let it intimidate you. It's actually really, really simple. And so I'm going to show you our favorite recipe. This is our very last jar of pickles from last year, and they are still good. They've gotten a little soft, I'd say, but they have lasted the whole year, which is exciting. So I'm going to show you for a quart size amount. Now I will say with the amount of cucumbers we have, this would be enough to make a gallon probably, but I'm just going to do it in a quart size amount because I don't want it to be like a huge amount for you guys. So to start off with, you are going to put a few of things in the bottom of your quart size jar. You need a teaspoon of dill. Now if you have fresh dill, that would probably be best and amazing. I do not at the moment, so I just have some of this dill from good old Walmart. And we're going to do a teaspoon of dill on the bottom and 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. And I like to crush them just because I feel like they get more aromatic, you know, in the jar. So we like our pickles really garlicky. And then after that, we actually already did work on the brine. So I'm gonna pull the skins out here. The brine on the stove is to every quart of water, let me reference my sheet here, is 3/4 of a cup of distilled vinegar and 4 tablespoons of salt. And obviously the pickles or the cucumbers take up a lot of space. So 1 quart of water can make, I think, at least half a gallon of enough brine for these fermented pickles. So this is where it's a little different than a traditional fermented pickle because you wouldn't use vinegar in just a regular fermented pickle. But I kind of like the taste that the vinegar gives this. And then you're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, just to give it just a touch of a kick. My kids don't like things super spicy, and they do fine with these. So you could add more if you want more. But then all of that is in the bottom of your jar. And now we're going to get to chopping the cucumbers.
So I'm cutting my cucumbers here in spears. You can literally cut them however you want. You can leave them long like this. You can cut them shorter for like little pop in your mouth snacks. You could put the whole cucumber in. You could cut it into little chips for burgers or sandwiches. It's totally up to you and what you want. Basically, you just got to get them in the jar. I try to fit them in as tightly as I can. So putting them in the jar can get a little bit tricky if you don't use a wide mouth jar. So just try to use a jar you can get your hand down in there. Get those cucumbers in as tightly packed as you can. I like to top with a little bit more dill on the top before I pour my brine over. It just adds a little bit of extra flavor. Then you're topping with your brine, and I'll have the recipe to these pickles down in the description below. And then make sure everything stays under the brine. In order to do that, I really like to use these pickle pebbles. It really helps to kind of keep all of those vegetables down underneath that brine. I filled this a little too full, so it's going to overflow, but that's okay. Pushing that pickle pebble down so that you can actually get a lid to screw on, and then it will hold all of that beneath the surface so you don't have to worry about mold or anything weird growing in your yummy pickles. Unless you think that my house is always quiet and everything goes perfectly, just know that we have a whole bunch of little kids who are loving to learn, and so messes are made and noises happen, but that's okay. It's really fun to get to do all of this work together.
We're all finished for the day. We have a little bit of zucchini left to shred and get in the freezer, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of what this was looking like. So we're gonna leave our squash here for the next 24 hours to cool down. Our fermented dill pickles are back there. They'll stay there for about 3 days. I'll get the zucchini in the freezer. And that was a great full day of working in the kitchen, but preserving food that we can eat all through this next coming year. So thanks for hanging out with us today, and we are excited to now be posting one video every week. We're taking our 5-acre farm in the city and turning it into a homestead. So follow along if that interests you. Bye.